Hey, everybody. Welcome to There Is No Crying in Crochet with Biz and Debbie. So good to see you here. Hang on just a second. I just have to delete this comment. All right, everybody, if you're joining us on YouTube, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons on both of our channels. We are going to have all of our information in the comment box below, the description box below after the show. But I do want to use my actual banner so that you can see. And
Nice.
then also, if you are joining from Facebook, make sure that you give StreamYard permission so that we can see your name. They don't use this information for anything other than identification. All righty. So, Debbie, tell me what's up this week? How have you been doing?
Oh my gosh, I get a banner.
You do.
First of all, in the comments, I have to say a big shout out to my grandson, who is my YouTube guru. He is
Hi.
watching us. He just said hello.
Hi, Dilly Studios.
Yeah, I know. So the story with I will not use his name, but he is a huge fan of armadillos. He has loved them since he was born. I have actually designed a few crochet things for him over the years that have armadillos on them. You can check out my shop for the armadillo tissue box cover. It's just
fun.
hilarious. But he got out of school early today because it's next last day of school, and he said,
awesome.
I can watch you live today. So he is
fun.
on. That's awesome.
Well,
So
hello,
this
grandson.
week, yeah. So this week is, just gorgeous weather around here, except for today. It's in the 90s, but it's been sunny and dry and breezy and gorgeous. Just a great mood booster. So I've been doing a lot of crocheting, a lot of writing for the blog, cleaning up the house, getting the plants out, that sort of thing. So just, I actually washed my car.
My God, you're so accomplished.
I know. And then, so it's not raining, so it doesn't get dirty. So there you go. I get in my car and go, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous. Where can I take it? I need to go out and drive, right? But anyway, it's been a quiet week, busy week. We had Memorial Day barbecue with all the kids and grandkids. So that was fun. And what about you, Ms. Biz? What's up?
It's been a pretty chill week. I have just been working on some old patterns, getting them updated. So I've been doing some pattern writing, and a little bit of prototype stuff. I've been working on a new pattern for a market bag. I have a bunch of stuff in the works, just nothing to put out at this point. So I've got a few things that I plan on, coming out with in June. But other than that, if your grandson really likes armadillos, they are big down here in Florida. Like we constantly see them on the side of the road. So them and opossums. So unfortunately,
I hear a road trip in the future here, grandma and grandson down to Florida.
Absolutely. And you can hit any of the gorgeous beaches down here. So, but other than that, it's just been a really, really pretty chill week. So, let's go ahead and talk about what's our subject today?
Our subject today. Oh, you were going to say, weren't you?
Oh, no, not really.
Okay.
So
we are going to give you some tips about how you can work with multi-strand gradient yarn cakes and not want to pull your hair out. So, and not pull the strands apart. So we're going to give you some tips for working with those gradient yarn cakes. So I see, Biz, that you're going to talk about what they are.
So you've got a sample there of a different brand that I don't have here, but this is a cake of gradient multi-strand yarn. And by multi-strand, we specifically mean that it is made up of multi-strands put together. You can find them spun or unspun.
And what do they use those strands for? Those strands are, instead of dyeing the yarn, the entire string of yarn, they strand 2 or 3 together to create the different colors
Yep.
In fact,
And
this one is a little bit more gradient than even yours, Biz. If you look,
yeah,
and
I
as
like
I'm working with it, it's dark gray to light gray, but those are all stranded. And the
mm-hmm.
same thing with the burgundy here in the middle.
And yours is what brand is that?
It's Hobie's Twister.
Okay, and this one is a Scapies Whirl in the Jumpin' Jaffa Pop color. You can find these in most of the major yarn stores anymore. I know that Red Heart has something called a shawl and a ball, which is
Mhm.
basically the same thing, only theirs is not twisted. Have you ever worked with the non-twisted ones?
I have. I mean, it makes life a whole lot easier, but usually what happens in those, it's not gradient for the whole cake. So it'll go
Oh,
through a series of colors and then it starts those colors over again,
really?
right?
Okay, so
Yeah,
I've
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 had
never
some
worked
that
with
do
any one of
that.
those.
Yeah. So I guess you wouldn't call that a gradient. That would be just, it's not really variegated because it's longer
No,
stretches
but
of
I
color.
it is a gradient. It's just like a repeating gradient as opposed to a single
Exactly.
grade from one
Yeah, I
end to
think
the
of a
other.
gradient as going from darker to lighter within the same
Mhm,
color family, and
mhm,
then another color family going from darker to lighter or something like that, which
right.
is exactly what happens in this one. You have 2 color families, and you're going from dark to light.
So
That's what I think of.
let's talk about the quality of the yarn. What makes the difference in the quality of the yarn? So I like if I feel like when you're working with the ones that are slightly better quality, you get a better or I want to say a smoother transition in your gradients where
Mhm.
there's maybe 3 to 4 transitions through a single color to get you to the next color as opposed to there's a color and then all of a sudden there's another color and then all of a sudden there's another color. So your
Yeah,
quality
exactly.
and the only reason I'm going to bring this one up and because this one is called Yarn Bee Rainbow Rhapsody, so you might have some of this in your collection. But this is one of the ones where it's not a bad quality because it's a nice yarn to work with. However, when you're talking about the gradient, it has far less grades. Like it goes really fast. We go from
Mhm.
dark gray to light gray, and then it bounces right over to dark pink, and it bounces right over to light pink, and it just goes really, really fast. It's still pretty when it works up, so I can't say, I'm not complaining about that part of it, but you will find that if you spend a little bit more on your gradient yarn, and Hobie is actually not one that's super expensive, but the
It's
Scapies
not.
tends to be a little bit pricey, the whirls. You will find that there are much softer transitions,
Mhm.
which makes, I think, a prettier product.
Yeah, I'm working on a rectangular shawl out of the twister right now.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm actually using up 2 balls. So I'm making 2 huge panels and I'm gonna seam them together where
Oh,
the
wow.
colors match. But the color gradient is so subtle that you almost, as you're working with it, you almost don't notice that the color
Mhm.
is changing until you hold it up and you
Yeah.
can actually see the color changes. So I agree. For me, the quality of the yarn, while those transitions are much smoother, I just find the yarn itself is so much more beautiful to work with. It
Yeah.
slides through the fingers easily. It feels soft to the touch as you're working with it. To me, that experience is invaluable. If I'm going to spend that much time on a project,
Mhm.
I want the yarn to be really to feel good to work with.
Yeah, and if you're gonna spend the dollars, you want the luxury to be there.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
do you have any tips that you would give, for holding that yarn together? Because you said that you have worked with the ones that aren't twisted, and we had talked about different ways of working with that yarn so that it's not agonizing. And the
Right.
first one
That one is yours. This is your tip.
oh,
The
I'm sorry.
bead.
I mean, I do have a bead here. So, I don't know if you can see this. This
Mhm.
little bead, it's kind of like a pony bead. I think it's about a 4 to 5 millimeter bead. The nice thing about these is that they have that nice big hole on them, so you can just slide yarn needle in there, pull that yarn through, and this, if you use the bead and then just slide it along as you're working, it keeps those pieces together in a different way, because otherwise it can very much pull apart while you're working with it.
Mhm. Yes.
And
All right.
this
So a
one is
tip,
yours.
I had actually heard this tip. I haven't actually used it. I've encountered in the less expensive yarns where the two colors are actually tied together in a square
Mhm,
knot. And they leave just a little bitty piece, so it's not long enough on each end to weave that in when you're done.
mhm,
Um, so you can't really do anything with it. If you crochet with that end,
mhm.
you're using a double thickness of yarn, so you have this bulge.
Oh,
So what
mhm,
I've seen some people do is actually cut that knot out and do I forget what kind of knot it is, but there's a way that you can loop the two yarns together,
mhm.
tie them together, and then you can snip off those tails and then crochet over it so it doesn't come apart.
Is that considered a Russian join?
I think it might be.
Okay. I've
I've
never
never
done
used
one.
it. I Me neither. So we're giving tips for things we don't know, but
Well,
that's
but you
okay.
know what? I also went and asked other people that I saw using these gradient yarns, and I said, "Hey, what do you think, and what would you do?" So these are coming from people that we have talked with that
Mhm.
do these things. So, I mean, it's not like just because we haven't done it, it makes it invalid.
Well, even if you don't use that Russian join, you certainly
Mhm.
could do the knot, but leave longer tails
Yeah.
so that then those yarn tails could be woven in when your
Mhm,
project is finished.
mhm.
Um, so that's another solution, but I've come across that a couple of times, and it's so annoying to get to that point where you just don't know what to do with those little bitty ends.
Mhm, for sure. I know that in the whirl, there is the same kind of connection, except that there's this little fuzz that's around the knot
Mm,
itself. And
mhm.
when they first came out with it, the big thing was called the fuzz buzz, like hashtag fuzz buzz. And so what they just recommended is, you know, like, wet your fingertips and then just run it over that fuzz and tamp it down, and then crochet over the top of it. And I've used that for the most part, it always works. But there's just that every once in a while where you still get a little bit of that fuzz poking out. You can trim
Yeah,
that off without it being, detrimental to your project.
yeah.
Um, you had another one about the hook, and I brought this up earlier, but you had said something about hook orientation as far as working with the yarn itself.
Right. So anytime I'm working with a yarn that's multi-stranded, whether it's in these gradient yarn cakes or not, I work with an inline hook. So if you're not familiar with an inline hook, let me see if I can find one in my, well, this is furls, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but an inline hook has a squared off. It's not rounded at the end, it's squared off. And I learned on that,
Is it
and
like a
it
Susan
grabs my
Bates?
yarn. I'm sorry?
The Susan Bates, is that, because I always go like
That's the
either
kind I
boys or
use.
Susan Bates.
Yeah, Susan Bates is the one that I use, and it has an
Okay.
inline, meaning that it's,
'Cause
is that what you
yeah,
have right there?
yeah, I use the boys, so, or like the boy style, so it's the
Mhm.
opposite of this one. It has that real
Yes,
severe. Yes.
very severe, and I learned on it because and now I can't use that kind of hook
Okay.
because my yarn just slides off. It's like my hand doesn't
Oh,
it's my hand doesn't even know what to do with it.
sure.
Um, and it grabs the yarn really well as you're
Mhm.
pulling it through, drawing up a loop or pulling through the loops or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a detriment when you're working with multi-stranded yarn because it tends to, if I don't get the hook completely turned
Mhm.
downward, so it's going through the loop facing the work where you don't
Mhm.
have any loop to pull through.
Right,
So the loop goes over here, but at the very bottom, it's open at the work,
right.
at what you're working on. So if you turn your hook downward as
Mhm.
you're pulling through, and for me, it's not a huge adjustment. It's
Mhm.
just a little turn. and then you pull it through, it doesn't catch those extra strands. And that's a trick that I use because I'm always using an inline hook.
But honestly, that is a really good tip for anybody who's working with a splitty kind of yarn, because there's a lot
Mhm.
of cottons and things like that out there that seem to just kind of separate as you're working on them.
They
That's a
do.
really good tip, turning your hook down and then pulling it through so that you can, you know, complete your hook or your stitch without, screwing it up or
Well,
grabbing
and the
onto something.
trick is to get that to be a fluid motion because as you
Mhm.
know, in your work, I'm sure as well, it's uh, the speed builds up and that's what gets
Mm,
you through the project a little bit faster. When I
yeah.
have to slow down and think about it, it's tedious. So
Yeah.
I have to get that if I'm working with like with the rectangular wrap, I have to continually be reminding myself to turn that hook a little bit, but once I get that rhythm, then I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. So let's go back to the skeins of yarn. We've got just one more thing that we had on our list to talk about. You were mentioning the ones that have kind of that gradient, but it gets repeated throughout.
Mhm.
So, you can have chunks of it. It almost kind of creates like a striping almost.
It can, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
I've used that, actually in, corner to corner baby
yeah.
blankets. So Lion Brand Mandala Baby does that. So
Hmm.
it has the colors. It's not really a gradient, so we're not talking about a multi-strand gradient yarn, but, it has the colors that are in the color combination in the cake, and they
Hmm.
simply repeat in that same order. So
Hmm.
a lot of times, if you have a project that's big enough and you have to start the next cake, you really need to think about where in that next cake you're
Hmm.
going to start because they might not wind the color in the same they wind it in the same order, but they might not start in the same place,
Hmm.
right? So you might have to start in a different place to get
Yeah.
that same gradation of stripes
And
through your
every once in a
project.
while, have you ever run into it where you're going along and now, because we're talking about the knots right now and
Mhm.
stuff, have where all of a sudden you get the knot where the white ended and all of a sudden we're on dark gray.
Yes.
Like,
Gosh,
where
that
did that
kills me.
happen?
It's like,
How?
are you kidding me right now? You're
Exactly.
that happened to me now that I think about it. I was pattern testing for this amazing designer who does these intricate cowls and shawls and whatnot.
Mhm.
And this project depended upon how the color came out of
Oh,
the cake.
man.
And I get to this place where the colors don't even match the
Mm,
sequence. It was so annoying.
well,
I
because then
guess
you've
what I
got
did was cut it
yeah,
and just
and then you
discard
gotta
a little
peel
bit.
through and pull out a whole bunch of yarn till you get to the next one. It's such a waste.
Well, but that's when I pull out my yarn winder and
Oh,
I yeah, I wind that onto
very
the
smart.
yarn winder and wind out until I get to the place where I can start again, and then everything is on that little tiny ball.
Yeah, no, that's way smart. I don't ever seem to remember to pull out my yarn winder because I've got really nowhere to clamp it. I've got to get a table that doesn't this has a lip on it, and for whatever reason, the lip won't let me clamp it. So I
Yep,
always forget
yep.
to wind my stuff properly. I have balls
Oh,
everywhere.
oh
I'm a
my
ball
gosh, that would
girl.
drive me nuts. All right, I think that might be a subject for another episode. I like it. I'm gonna put it on the list.
Good, good. I think that'll
Yarn
work.
winders versus yarn balls, and go.
I am all about the ball.
And moving on,
So tell me about
and
what
here we go.
show you watched
Uh,
this week.
oh my gosh. So, Biz is the queen of all things streamed true crime, and I'm just a
Does that make me an
network, whatever you
addict?
got to offer me. I don't know what it makes you, but you are the be all end all of anyway. Biz suggested that I watch the first episode of Beyond Paradise on BritBox. So I signed up dutifully for BritBox and watched the first episode, and I am in love. I am
Isn't
in
it
love.
awesome?
Exactly what we've talked about in the past with our shows. It's
Mhm.
character driven.
Yes.
There are storylines that are arcing through it that
Yep.
they introduce them enough. I hate this about first episodes. You get a snippet of something in a storyline and you go, wait, what?
Yep.
There's no question at all what these storylines are going to be. You got them
Yeah.
right here, front and center.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and they're interesting characters.
They're so well
I
written.
love, oh yeah, and I love the way they roll out the story. My
Mhm.
favorite police procedural is one where you don't know what the twist is until the end. Now, I will admit that they kind of gave away what how they were going to introduce the twist.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember him looking at the video over and over and over again?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He just kept. So I'm going, I thought there was somebody in the video that he couldn't see yet.
Uh-huh.
But no. Should I give away what it is?
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
what it is?
I
What the
you
clue
know
was?
what? I can't remember because I've watched the whole season. So
Well, it was a broom that was just sitting on a wall.
yes. Yes, now I
And
remember.
in one frame, it's down on the ground, and the
Yep.
camera pans back, and the broom is up, and he goes,
Yes.
"That's it."
Yes.
So then he explains how he figures this all out to all of the people who have completely doubted him and thinks he's just a buffoon from the
Mhm.
very beginning of the
Yeah.
show, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes. And that's kind of the fun thing about, um, Beyond Paradise, and then this is we talked about before, this is a spin-off of the other show, Death in Paradise, which is also on BritBox. And, they it kind of follows the same, each show he fumbles his way through this, interrogation not interrogation, inspection oh, good lord. Yeah, inspection.
Investigation.
Investigation, thank you. I just could not find the word. He stumbles his way through the investigation, but constantly finds new things, and everybody thinks that he's an idiot, but it's that brilliant mind thing where
Mhm.
they always work it out. And the thing that I have the most fun with is I like to try and guess who the bad guy is, and
Yep,
it's always
exactly.
a twist. Like, sometimes you
Uh-huh.
get it, sometimes you don't. That's one of those shows where Tony and I will be watching it, and I'll be like, "I'm calling it. It's that one. I'm calling it." And so it's kind of like a wager, like, what do I get if I win, you know?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. In this particular episode, I was convinced, of course, they convinced me too early in the show for it to actually be this person,
Sure.
was the wife
Mhm.
of the woman's partner who they had just had a falling out, and she
Yes.
was having an affair with the woman's husband, the woman who got hurt.
Yes.
So you
They
go,
always make
okay,
a really obvious person.
right.
There's always a really obvious one, and you're like, "Oh, I mean, it makes so much sense, absolutely, but it's really early in the show. Why would they do that?"
Yeah, exactly. Now, I know, well, okay, I would say with 85 to 90% certainty that my husband will watch this one with me.
Oh, that
So
would be so fun.
we happened to be watching NCIS Hawaii last night. I have to record them
Mhm,
because I go up to bed before they even broadcast. So
mhm,
I watch them another day. So we
mhm,
were watching an episode, and of course they do the vignette at the beginning and then big commercial splash, blah blah
mhm.
blah. He goes, I hate this. He goes, "Oh, they're gonna find a dead body." I'm gonna shut up. Please, please do not. Of course, they find a dead body. They
It's
investigate
the
homicide.
show.
Uh, but
My
in
husband
this
did the
one, she
same
didn't
thing, I think,
die.
though, on one of them. He's like,
Oh,
"Oh, wait, there's a dead body in that. There's oh, they're gonna find." And it's
I
always that
love.
first person that they show. It's always the first person, they're like, "That one's dying. That's the one that's gonna die."
Yes, but we were watching an episode of, I think, NCIS not that long ago where it wasn't the guy, the first guy.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, the dog found another dead guy. So
Oh,
he was just a cameo. He wasn't the
wow.
dead guy.
Oh, he was a special person. You get to live. You're
You
important.
get to live, but you get haunted by that dead body there. So
Absolutely.
that's what's happening.
So,
Well, I'm definitely watching this one through and
yeah.
through. I don't care if he joins me or not. It's so good.
Well, and the fun thing I was going to bring up is that this is one of those shows that, like, if your family likes, TV procedural, like police procedurals and stuff like that, this is a really family friendly one because there's no swearing,
Mhm.
there's no sex,
Mhm.
there's no violence to speak of. I mean, if there is, it's like super minimal, like, oh gosh, and somebody gets grabbed by the face and then they're off camera and you don't see anything. It's like
It's very British.
the old-timey kind where it was you can actually sit and watch it with your kids and
Yeah,
nobody's gonna end up
yeah,
with trauma.
yeah, yeah, they are
So I would
getting,
highly recommend it for anybody who likes TV procedure God, I keep saying that, police procedurals
mhm,
and mystery and, the death kind of thing, but they don't want to have gore and they don't want to have the swearing and they don't wanna have the sex and because so
yeah,
many of them are just riddled with it.
and fun characters. I mean,
Yes.
that's why we fell in love with NCIS in the beginning,
Yeah,
because every character had his or her own unique persona, but
right.
added to the team, and they were all brilliant. This one I can see, happening the same way, although I had to laugh. The very first thing you see is, one of the first things you see is somebody walking into the police station, and the frumpy old
You are
assistant who
gonna love her.
she's
The
just
receptionist is awesome.
yeah, and the detective who's coming in, the lead of the show comes in and asks her to do something, and she goes, "I'm
Humphrey,
not
his
doing
name's
this. I'm
Humphrey.
not doing this. I'm not doing this." He goes, "No, we're good. Just do this."
Yes, and
She's
and she
hilarious.
they develop her character so great. I mean,
Oh gosh,
if
I
you
can't
love
wait.
sarcasm on any level, if that is a love language that you use, which is in my family, we are very sarcastic. You're gonna love her. She is so funny.
Well, thanks for, suggesting that show because that's gonna become a regular part of our viewing in the evening.
Yeah, you'll have
Yeah,
fun with that one. That's good. But absolutely make sure that you also go check out Death in Paradise. That one
I
is
will
see,
definitely do that.
I like to find shows that have lots of seasons so that I can just put it on and go. Put it on and do my work. And my husband and I are just like you said, kind of the queen of binging and streaming and stuff like that because uh, the man just likes to come home and after supper he sits in his chair and we watch our shows. You know, we have a very, very simple life. So
Well, we can't move on until we've watched Jeopardy, and that's not over until 7:30 because I don't know if I've said this before, and don't stop me if I have. We have this adorable mini Aussie doodle. She's
yeah.
18 pounds of fluff. She's just adorable. And she doesn't howl as a regular rule, but for whatever reason, she sings to Final Jeopardy, the
Oh
Final
my
Jeopardy
goodness.
song. Every night
Wow.
at 7:25, I crank the volume up. She howls until it's over. She stops, she looks at my husband, and she goes, "All right, it's time for my treat." He
Funny.
goes up and gets her. It's hilarious,
Oh,
hilarious.
it's a
So we
routine.
have to
That's so
watch it
cute.
every night. So
Yes.
we don't get to watch TV until anything else until 7:30, and right now
Mhm.
it's a, struggle between baseball and whatever I happen to have on my DVR, so we only get one in a night.
Oh, well, eh, I can't say that I'm proud of being a junkie, but
Own it, Biz. Own it right now.
if you're gonna do it good.
Do it and do it wholeheartedly.
Yes, well, I do. So, All righty. Do we have anything else that we want to chit chat over today?
You know, I think for this week we have solved all of the problems of the crochet world.
I
There will be
agree.
others. That's why we're coming back next week.
Yes, every Friday
Yes.
at 1 p.m. Central or 2 p.m. Eastern. From 1 p.m. Who knows when we're going to end?
You know, whenever the spirit moves us or we've exhausted the topic. Next week's topic, which I'm not going to say, might be involved, and we're going to talk some hard truths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be hitting on some subjects because it's needed.
Yep.
We have decided that we are willing to be the ones that are going to talk about the hard topics, aren't we?
Yeah. Yep. We're going to talk about it. Then I'm going to write a blog post about it. Then we're going to put it on social media and we're going to inform the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
No, it'll be fun.
Everybody's like, oh my God, what is it?
What? Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? Well, you know, that could be a good hook. Tune in to find out what this hard truth is.
Ooh, learn about the hard truths.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, if since we have solved all of the world's problems and
We have.
It is a Friday afternoon. So I hope that everybody and it's National Donut Day. I did bring my donut in. I have not eaten it.
Oh, Biz.
But there's my sour cream cake donut that I plan to snarf as soon as we're done with this video. Because even though I'm on weight watchers,
jealous.
I have decided I needed a donut. Because isn't this the stupidest way to celebrate? I am down another pant size and I'm close to 30 pounds lost. So I'm going to eat a donut.
Yes. Well, that's another subject altogether, but every once in a while you need to treat yourself. You can't be on the straight and narrow 24/7 because that peters out after a while. So you have to treat yourself. And I think you need to embrace National Donut Day. Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Yes, I'm going to. It's off camera though. So, all right. Just a reminder to everybody, make sure that you click like and subscribe if you are on YouTube and following us there. Both of us have our own channels. Make sure that you follow us in both places if you'd like to know what we're doing, because we do more than just this podcast. We also have tutorials and we like to teach crochet and we like to talk about crochet. So make sure that you're following us, and then you'll also get notifications every time we do go live or if we have anything that we've posted that's new content. And remember that we are here every single Friday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and each week we tackle a different subject. So I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you, Debbie, for chatting with me.
Thank you,
Bye, everybody. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. It's the beginning.